Hey, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to Rule the Galaxy. You got Joe in the pilot seat tonight. As usual, I keep talking to these guys and asking them to be the host, and all of them keep turning me down, so they keep making me do this. So we've got a little bit shorter amount of co-hosts tonight, but some of them might pop in throughout the night. We have my friend Ryan Massengale who will be on here, and we have a special guest. Mr. Dominic Pace, also known as Gekko the Bounty Hunter. So that'll be great. I think a few others will pop in, and when they do, we'll announce that. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see him hop on screen with us anyway. But so real quick, as always, you can follow us at RuletheGalaxySW on Twitter. You can email us at RuletheGalaxySW@gmail.com. Or as I said, you can go ahead and check us out, subscribe, like us on YouTube at Rule the Galaxy. As usual, we'll go around the room. It's been a crazy, hectic few weeks for me, but I'll introduce one of my co-hosts here, Ryan Massengale. How are you tonight, Mass?
I'm doing good, Joe. How are you tonight?
Doing well, doing well. Just finished. I coach, as most of you know, I coach high school softball. I'm a JV coach, which not the big glory, but it's still good out there teaching those young ladies how to play softball, and I get to spend great time with my daughter Maddie. She and I coach together. And so we just pulled off a big win. It was kind of crazy. We won 15-1, so it was a good night. But rushed right home from the game to hop into the show here. So, Mass, anything good you did Star Wars wise over the week? Did you watch anything, read anything, find anything? Did you open up your garage and find an old book or an old figure or anything like that?
No, I didn't find anything this week. I did start season 2 of Rebels finally.
Awesome. Good.
So I watched about 6 episodes, and I'm still waiting for it to kick in and get really good, like you guys keep telling me it is. But I do like it better than the first season. So
by the time you get to the end of season 2, you'll be like, "Whoa, I have to see where this goes." So
okay.
just putting that out there, putting it on the plate for you. So.
All right.
But you know what? While we wait for some of the other co-hosts to come on, our very special guest, Mr. Dominic Pace, he just told us he just flew in from Hawaii, got a good, part of the night's sleep, I guess. Dominic, I can't thank you enough for just wanting to share your story and everything. Great to meet you face to face. Welcome, and how's everything going?
Well, thanks for having me, and hello to all your listeners. It's been absolutely amazing. Just the most priceless family trip that I just had over to the west side there, over in Hawaii at Hilo. It was a comic book store called Enjoy Comics. We did so well. Just to take it back a little bit, we were originally going to do about maybe 20, 25 Comic-Cons, just sort of flanking the A and the B listers of the cast. But what ended up happening, obviously, once COVID happened, was I knew that there would be just sort of maybe a short shelf life for this character. And being such a diehard Star Wars fan, I wanted to get out there before season 2, before knowing also it's sort of an indirect interview, an audition for Dave and John. So what I did was, because side characters are sort of parallel to small business owners. You're not the Home Depot, you're not the Pedro Pascal, you're not the Walmart, a Gina or a Carl. I was able to relate to them to where you sort of have to motivate your own brand. And the one thing with me was that, obviously, knowing that there were essential businesses and there were non-essential businesses, comic books stores put in there, to me, any business that had women and children involved were essential. And the one thing, being that I don't have a major level of star power, was that I didn't put a quote to my appearance. And I said, instead of that, obviously, due to the whole situation right now, let me give you 15% of all the sales. And long story short, we ended up doing 50 different comic book stores, raising over $25,000 for small business. At the same time, over $3,000 for charitable organizations. I can't tell you how grateful I am for the Star Wars community. They made me an honorary member of the 501st Legion, the Rebel Legion, the Mandalorian Mercs. They have been so supportive.
That's awesome.
And this is really uncharted territory. The only thing I guess I could compare it to figure-wise would maybe be like a blue snaggletooth or a Monomon. And as far as character-wise, maybe a Wilro Hood, to where, again, it's yes, you're a bounty hunter. Yes, you're in Star Wars, but never this amount of reception did I expect, to where now they have created a fan fiction comic, which I'm using not only to hopefully double that number for small business, but also support my son through his college aspirations there.
Well, no, I tell you what, I obviously with you coming on board, I like to do my homework. I like to do my research. And so I read up a lot on your tour that you went on in 2020 and how you're going to do this, again this year in 2021, and starting there with that, your discussion about the Enjoy Comics in Hawaii. I was blown away. I mean, here's your character was in, I believe, episode 1 and episode 3 of the first season of The Mandalorian.
Yes.
Which, it's just so great, like you said, that fans of Star Wars will cling on to somebody who's like, hey, I was a bit character, as a small character, but I love it so much, I want to share it with you. I mean, personally, for me, I'm sure for Ryan and Alfie just hopped on, so we'll talk to Alfie in a minute. I know for us, like, to even be on the set of anything related to Star Wars, our minds would be blown. So thinking about you and that, I mean, were you just sitting there pinching yourself to think I'm doing this? And, oh, there's Carl Weathers, and, oh, there's Gina Carano, and, oh, there's Pedro Pascal. And you're like, am I really here? I mean, was that just the most awesome thing in the world?
Without question, and not to toot my own horn, I've been in the game for a long time, over 20 years, over 100 television credits, television and film credits, guest stars and co-stars. My first play set was a Cantina play set, and I remember it vividly. 1980, Austin, New York, just 40 minutes north of New York City. My mother was a single mother. She gave me the original 12 figures, and here I am on day one. I mean, just to take you back a little bit, it was a makeup test where I had no idea what I was getting into. All I knew was that I was with a legendary makeup artist by the name of Brian Sipe, nominated now for Emmys, for Screen Actors Guild Awards. I mean, you name it. The man created Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy, not to mention worked with Schwarzenegger, worked on X-Men. The talent that this man has, if you don't want to do CGI, you go to Brian Sipe. Okay. I literally was there for 6 hours, and they split my face in two. Because of the bald head, previous experience on Bright, I doubled Frankenstein on Van Helsing. I was also on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's not the greatest talent in the world to be able to sit there for 3 or 4 hours, but you can't be claustrophobic. You can't have an attitude. And at the same time, experience did help. He didn't tell me what it was. So 2 weeks later, I'm literally signing on this thing, and all of a sudden I look up. And it was funny because I always compare it to the movie Big, because Tom Hanks is next to John Lovitz, right?
Yes.
So all the Star Wars fandom guys can totally relate to where you've got, John Lovitz next to them, and all of a sudden, I'll never forget Tom Hanks. He's like $167, right? So it was the same thing to where literally it's just like, I've got 2 other guys, second team bounty hunters next to me, and they're just like, it's another day of work. I wonder what they got at Crafty. The whole time I'm just sitting there and trying to be as professional as possible. But little by little, it started revealing itself. Joseph A. Porro, he was nominated for Emmy for the Emmy Award for episode 3, which I was, obviously featured in the most out of the 2 episodes. He brought me into his costume room. And again, I just wish I could have taken the heart and soul of every Star Wars fan to where you go into that room, you're looking in the walls, and little by little, it starts revealing itself. Originally, I thought it was going to be a Boba Fett movie. But again, it just started becoming more and more of like, you've got to be kidding me. There was a rack of clothes. It's a Dominic Pace bounty hunter. Brian Sipe, the makeup artist, comes up. He said, look, we've got 25 bounty hunters. I said, I want to give you the most extensive makeup. He said, you were so patient. And because of the bald head, you're 6'4", 260 pounds. It's going to be a 2-hour process, but I know you're up for it. So again, the whole time, just trying to keep contained. And as I'm walking through, you've got a life-size IG, I thought it was IG 88. And then also one of my first childhood pieces was toys was a land speeder. Mm-hmm. I could swear I let out like a little bit of a yelp going around to lunch. And there was working the volume, the LED mm-hmm. screen, were these 2 rows of men. It was like NASA. And they kind of put their head up there for a second, but I was like, all right, let me stay calm, because the last thing you wanted was to get kicked out. It was just so much commotion within those 2 weeks. And my mind was just racing in terms of the potential of being an official Star Wars bounty hunter. And now here we are 2 years later. And I can't tell you how grateful I am to the fan base. They literally got me through COVID. And in turn, I have given so much back as a way of saying thank you. And I cannot wait for this year. It's going to be really exciting. Taking my son there as well. 60 comic book stores, 35 states. We just finished Hawaii, one of 60. We're not finishing up until September 1st. We might even hit up to Bozeman, Montana. We're not neglecting. Nobody puts Alaska in the corner. We're going to Anchorage, Alaska, late May. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But I just have embraced the fan base so much, and I can't tell you how grateful I am for this opportunity. And I'd like to believe that Dave and John are just as passionate, and I'm watching with obviously with hope that the character will get that solid fan base. Geeky Tiki's is very interested, so the sky's the limit. We'll see what happens.
You got it. Well, hey, I know Mass had a question, but before he did, Alfie Molinaro was hopped on here, and Alfie is, if not the biggest, one of the biggest Mandalorian / Boba Fett kind of fans. He's got it, the Mandalorian, the Fett tattoo up and down his arm. I figured, and looky here, he's got the
Wow.
Gekko.
Yeah, you got me beat for sure.
So
Boba's amazing. As a matter of fact, I just my son was doing his homework today, and I presented to them today. I know you asked the question there to the other gentleman was just is there any Star Wars purchases today? We just got the Boba Fett his intro. It was issue number 42. I ended up buying on eBay there for them. Probably not, maybe a 4.0, a 5.0, but just for my sons, I think those right now they're around 200 to 300. I honestly, if was that Kramer on the stock market, it's like I think it's buy with those things. To be honest,
I agree. Alfie, before we hop on the Mass's question and go back into more stuff with Dominic, how are you doing? Glad that you could join us. You and Dominic are comparing. You'll be able to compare cool tattoos, as Dominic just showed us his Gekko tattoo there. But anything good going on Star Wars for you this week? I know you brought me a Jar Jar 6-inch from Florida, which was great. We found some cool stuff, and you've got some stuff you're going to announce, probably not tonight, but by the end of this week, that you just purchased. That was really cool.
Yeah, it was a big one.
Yeah. So,
and like I said, my wife actually bought it. I was really shocked by that.
Hey, you know what? That's awesome.
It was a great deal.
So yes, so that's good. You're doing okay. Everybody's doing all right. Welcome to the show.
Just as always, Wednesdays are a rush.
Yes, yes, and we hope that the little one doesn't come running and yell for daddy. But if she does, we understand. Yeah,
she's not asleep tonight, so we're gonna have to take it minute by minute.
Gotcha. Matt, did you have a question for Dominic? You put your hand up earlier, and I apologize.
That's no problem. Did they give you any of the backstory for your character? Did they, where he's from, anything like that?
Okay, so two parts to that. Basically, obviously we know it's a member of the Bounty Hunter Guild. The one thing I know 110% is that it's a one-of-a-kind species. The reason being, it was inspired from Brian from a Greenpeace project that he worked on 2 years prior, which is where it acquired the nickname Gekko. Just to let you know in regards to the fan base, and I think you guys know this already, I had a gentleman from Maryland reach out to me as soon as he saw me, and he said, look, I don't know what they told you, what backstory. He said, I'm an admin over at Wikipedia. I would love to name your species. If I can, I would love to name what planet you're from. Lo and behold, a year later, Marvel, Ethan Sachs over at Star Wars Bounty Hunters loved the character so much, but due to, all the drama going on between certain cast members, and then also at the same time needing to, solidify canon and make sure that Dave has the perfect arc, he came to me again and he said, I'd love to put together a fan fiction comic for you. I love this character. So to answer your question, no, but at the same time, the Star Wars fan base is so incredibly passionate. They literally motivated this to creating a backstory for him. But all we know right now is works for Greek Karga, a one-of-a-kind bounty hunter. And I did pick the biggest blaster. It's actually behind me. So I'd like to believe he speaks softly, but carries a very big stick, and also the gauntlets. The one thing that is also factual is that they were Pike's Sentinel gauntlets that were used from Solo. So I'd like to believe there's a backstory to that as far as how he acquired them. But they are the exact gauntlets from the Pike Sentinels from Solo, which I think is a pretty interesting tidbit about him there.
Oh, that's cool.
That is great. Alfie, did you have something?
So in tying that up, did your character survive episode 3?
Great. So great question. So anyhow, we filmed that battle scene for probably 4 or 5 days. I hope Deborah, I hope and I don't hope that there is an extended version, because there were some shots in there that was me and literally Mando going at it almost to a stormtrooper level, where I was like 10 feet away from him. Like, how am I not hitting him? I mean, this should be the end of the freaking series right now, which is probably why they cut that bit. But I called Brian right away and I said, Brian, we didn't die. We didn't die. And he said, no, we didn't. So basically the fan fiction comic picks up from the escape from Navarro for Gekko. Again, it's non-canon, but we did not die. They're like I said, with the campaign last year, I think they're very aware. I think they're very enthusiastic in terms of having a performer that has this much passion for the character. So you just never know. Obviously, if Boba can come out of that Sarlacc pit, anything's possible with Gekko. So I'd like to believe we'll be back one way or another. I can hopefully guarantee that within the next few years.
So real quick, so the best way to get in touch with you, to track you down, to buy things that maybe you're promoting, GekkoTheBountyHunter.com, correct?
GekkoTheBountyHunter.com. Also, Lair of the Gekko on Facebook is a great place to just keep track of these 60 stops all throughout the country. As always, appreciate everyone's support. We start again. It'll be April 30th up in Northern California, and we're going to do kind of a little bit of a shoehorn over to Reno and Las Vegas and such. Lair of the Gekko, Gekko the Hunter on Twitter, and Dominic Pace 1 on Instagram. Thank you.
No worries. I want to make sure that people who are listening, and we'll put all that stuff into the show notes and promote that and tweet that out to everybody and everything. But so I love that you talked about you survived the Battle of the Bounty right there. And so that's great. Always leaves that door open to see what's going on. So again, like I was telling you off air, we're a bunch of guys from Indianapolis, Indiana. So anything in the Midwest is near and dear to us. Looking at the tour this year, it looks like to July 7th, 8th, and 10th, you'll be in Belleville, Illinois, Jacksonville, Illinois, Chicago, Illinois. So for people in the Midwest, we have a lot of followers in Indiana and Illinois. They can check you out there. Mishawaka, Indiana, which is great, on July 11th. And then Columbus, Ohio on July 18th. So that is awesome right there. So people in Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio, where we have a lot of listeners, you can definitely check that out. But I would go check out the whole schedule, because again, we have followers who are in California and Georgia, Texas, whatever. And I was seeing you have stops in pretty much all those states. So yeah, I mean, you're all over the place.
The sport has been absolutely amazing, and it's just sort of been, I say I have a Gekko tattoo on my right shoulder. I'd love to have a yin and a yang, not only with the Star Wars community, but also with small business owners. My career has sort of paralleled the small business owner in that, you're not necessarily a name, not necessarily a big star, but it's grit and grind every day. And the one thing for me is just feeding off that energy, not to mention showing my sons what it takes in order to get ahead in this country and not making excuses. I can't tell you how grateful I am, especially through such a dark time in our country with COVID. That I have this priceless opportunity to share all that positivity within the Star Wars community there.
The other thing that a few things that really stood out to me looking at your bio and just reading up on you, because obviously I knew when I saw this all happening, and after Mandalorian came out, I was like, oh, this is a cool character. I'm glad that he's doing this. But seeing, you talking about how, well, first of all, you're from New York, grew up in New York, correct?
Yes.
So that's your background there. Like you said, I went to IMDb and I'm thinking, well, this probably isn't all that Dominic's done. And you're right. I mean, to see 100+ things that you're in, it just blew me away, from huge, big shows and movies to, small little things and short films. That's just awesome for you. I'm so happy that you've had all that success. But I think really one of the things that stuck with me was in 2020, like you said, it was a 10,000-mile journey, and it was a great time of spending time with your son, right? And I think he was 12. You're how old's your 12-year-old, or is that your 12-year-old son?
My youngest son, Bennett, was with me last year.
Yes.
Yeah, he's 12. And then my oldest is 15, Dante, who will be with me this year. And this is sort of the fan fiction comic is sort of a gift to him and his future. I think we all, we have so many parallels of these stories in the Star Wars universe, brother and brother between Anakin and Obi-Wan. You've got father and son with Vader and Luke. You've got so many different mythological beliefs through Yoda. The one thing for me with bounty hunters is the blue collar worker. And that's what I've been since 1998. I started off Broadway in New York. I was featured in For Love of the Game with Kevin Costner, but multiple co-stars and guest stars throughout that time. But not one day has been easy. So the one thing that I think that becomes appealing with bounty hunters is the fact that you have to scratch and crawl and sometimes work for the good, work for the bad. So there's a much deeper meaning behind this character. It's sort of symbolic of my career, and also symbolic, sort of a message to my sons, in that you have the smallest of opportunities, and look how amazing things can transpire in terms of not only helping yourself, but helping others. It's the greatest message. I don't have a huge life insurance policy for them. I always say, I want to have in 10, 15 years a Subway sandwich and Coors Light party, because I really don't need anything else other than to pay it forward to these kids and teach them that lesson of just work hard, believe in yourself, help others, and you can make this country amazing. And also, I think be very gratified with the work that you show throughout your life.
Nope, I got it. Alfie and Mass, I've been monopolizing things. Any other thoughts or questions? he's got so many great things, and we can go into more stories here. I figured
My mind's kind of blown after that. I'm drawing a blank, man, because that was amazing.
Thank you.
Dominic, I am really curious as to what all is in the case behind you.
Oh man, if I can take you, are we going to be filming this?
Yeah.
All right. So just so you know, I mean, the fans have been absolutely amazing. I mean, ever since day one, I'd like to believe it's nothing personal. I think with the sequel trilogy, unfortunately, Disney sort of held back the reins in terms of the secondary characters. The third level characters with all the extra, merchandise. They went all in on Grogu. They went all in on Quill, and obviously Pedro and Gina, etc. But really, the fans have just been amazing. Here we have right here is a custom vintage throwback of Gekko that was from a gentleman, D2C Studios in
awesome.
Maryland.
So
I'm in Pittsburgh about 30 stops in, and all of a sudden this guy presents this to me, a Funko Pop, a complete custom Funko Pop of Gekko, which Alfie. I just thought was
keep your hands away from that, Alfie.
Yeah, go on to something else.
Yeah. Okay. So Big Kid Bricks, I don't know if you can see, but basically Big Kid Bricks, they are an amazing company in Indiana, by the way. They do custom Legos. So they still have available. I actually just sent him 25 complimentary autographs just because the support over there has been amazing. And they're actually going to be amping up the detail of Gekko with this next round. But the fans, when I went down to Atlanta, there's a store called the Atlanta Brick Company, and they did an entire diorama of the Navarro standoff, which is just absolutely insane.
Wow.
So the one thing with Gekko, people ask me, Rebel Force Radio, one of the other podcasts, as far as what his attributes are, I really think his gauntlets really can do a lot of magical things. So this gauntlet was created for me. It's fairly similar, and it's heavily featured in the fan fiction comic there I'll be touring with this year. But I think it's got a lot of really fun gadgets on it. Like I said, I think if you were to put Gekko in a video game, not much agility, but a lot of power, almost similar to Jason Voorhees, to where, again, I'm 6'4", 270 pounds, could probably crush you with one swing. But also the other thing was I wasn't able to keep any props. But a gentleman by the name of Clint Williams completely recreated, he was one of those gun guys, aficionados there. Where he knew every little bit of my rifle and my blaster. So out of the 25 bounty hunters, this was another Star Wars childhood dream. I got to pick my own blaster. So it was just absolutely amazing fan moment. And with that, I said, if he ever becomes a figure, I wanted to make sure that he had one of the coolest blasters that, kids when we were 8 years old would truly love. A gentleman down by the name of John Black down in Dallas created a Black series. Absolutely, just absolutely amazing. And then of course, the merchandise, if you got, Gekko, some of the stuff, it's not even mine. They created pins as well. Again, what I tell people is just, if you had a Han Solo, you had a Greedo. If you had a Walrus Man, you had Princess Leia. It just is the only universe, I think, even bigger than Marvel, to where, again, the sidekick.
Oh, we lost him real quick. I'm sure
he'll be back.
There he is. Yeah,
it's such a beautiful message in that there are no small parts. I just did an anti-bullying campaign last week, and the one thing too I love with Gekko, and I'm hoping to do with public speaking when the schools get back, is that Gekko is his own unique species. And the one other thing too with this whole story, maybe a documentary one day, there were 25 bounty hunters of all different shapes and sizes. There was one bounty hunter who stepped up and said, "Hey, I think there's an opportunity here. I'm going to go ahead and create something," and that's what ended up happening. So I think there's just a lot of inspiration, and I hope that people feel that when they come out to see me, as far as just supporting the store, supporting my cause, just as far as understanding that it's a lot deeper than just a character. It's about being your own self, and I hope people are inspired through their own life in regards to that. And also, again, a lot of excuses this day and age. You guys were in Generation X, football team. You weren't playing hard enough. You're sitting on the bench. And, we grew up with that mentality. I have to teach my kids that mentality. I understand with HR these days and everything else, it's sort of participation trophy, but it goes back to the basics. You work hard. I don't care what you look like. A Gekko is probably the scariest looking thing you can imagine, but I'm going to have him on my team because he's busting his ass. And that's all it comes down to. So again, a lot of lessons to my sons as opposed to just a Star Wars character.
That's very cool. And I think I see right there a signed Carl Weathers 8x10, which is, that's blowing me away, guys. I don't know about you.
That's correct.
great.
The fans are just amazing. Even just, as far as little, detonators and things that they would think that he would have. Just they've been absolutely amazing. And then just some of the things up here, my honorary membership there, of course, which I'm so proud of. I can't say enough about those charitable organizations. At the end of the day, those groups helping children, helping the handicapped, helping the elderly within their community, going out in 100-degree weather, dressing up as a stormtrooper. You've got to be kidding me. And I think it was the greatest thing when Dave had that gesture in episode 8. I know he can't do it all the time, to where he invited some of the 501st members and said, thank you for all they do. And I just can't tell you how grateful I am to be an honorary member with them there.
You're exactly right. We talk about it on this show. I would say this. Every now and then you dip into some negative talk or things that maybe you don't like in Star Wars. But honestly, we wouldn't do this, and we wouldn't be doing this for the last year and a half if we didn't love Star Wars and
Absolutely.
if we didn't love this community. I mean, honestly, I've met so many people in the past year that I thought there's no way I'm ever going to meet this person or I've talked to authors. I've talked to people who work at StarWars.com. Our group right here, we're like brothers now because we're always communicating, always involved. But one of the things you did mention, it still stands out to me, is I look behind me and I've got all my vintage Star Wars figures from the 70s and the 80s. And you're right. Looking at the B and C characters, one of the things you brought up, man, growing up, you were so excited to get that B and C character. You're like, oh, this guy, he came through one scene, but he's such a cool figure. And thinking about it, Alfie, you collect a lot like I do. They didn't really do that for the sequel trilogy at all. It was like, here, we got 5 different Rays, we got 5 different Poes and 5 different Finns, and that's it. Not bashing on it. I'm just saying it would have been really great to have character B, C, and D down the line, because that's what made Star Wars so much fun, is making up those stories of characters just like yours.
Everybody had a gonk droid.
That's right.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, look at Amonamon. He's the most. I mean, getting him carded. All he's doing is sitting in the back of the Jabba's palace there. I mean, for 2 seconds, not even.
Yeah.
No, Blue Snaggletooth didn't even get any screen time. The hell's that about?
So
and what is the deal?
We've slipped into Seinfeld. Here we go. So we usually like to hit. We're going to keep promoting this stuff because I want everyone who's listening to us and everyone who watches and everybody we tweet to be able to go and either purchase things from you or go visit you, and we're going to promote all that. But we usually like to hit some other topics and look what's on. And with you being a big Star Wars fan, hopefully you've got a little, half an hour or so where you can talk about some other things that are just out there. I know I went personally this last weekend. I was just bored and I was like, you know what? I haven't gone forever. And I went to an Ollie's outlet store and a Five Below store. And I found stacks of things that were less than $10, $5 or $10, books that I'd never seen. Here they all are, And yes, I know it's a Star Wars show, but man, this was a really cool find to buy this Ultimate Avengers guide right here. But I mean, there's so many great things out there. Do you ever find yourself just going and searching in like at a flea market or at a garage sale or wherever and just being like, oh, you know what? I either don't have that or that looks really cool and I want to pick that up. Are there things like that Star Wars wise you still grab?
Well, I think we all have to be careful because that budget can be pretty heavy. So, my wife and I, we don't wear neither one of us wear the pants. I know certain husbands have it even worse to where it's like, oh my God, she's going to hit me over the head. But, it's so funny. I have a great story with the Power of the Force figures because obviously the 85 series, it's so expensive, right? So I don't know if you remember Pee Wee Herman, where at the end of what was it, Pee Wee's Big Adventure, he just keeps passing over the snakes because he doesn't want to touch the snakes. So with me, with the comic book stores, I keep looking at Barada and Yak Face and whatever. And it was like probably for about 5 to 7 stores, I'm like, because I had all the original loose figures, but I didn't have the final 17. Mm-hmm. Long story short, I only have 2 left now, and it's really just, I think we all have to we're grinding our teeth. Do I want to spend $400 to $500 on EV-99 or freaking Luke loose freaking Stormtrooper? I mean, it's insane, but now it's like, now I went all in, so I have to do it. I love the old vintage stuff.
Me too.
I love what the framing, the custom framing people do. I mean, even with this piece behind me, to where obviously once I get all the figures complete, I want to go ahead and get maybe like a card back panel in the back and then have it layered there and such in a really nice display. But 2 more left. then I got to go back to all the blasters and everything else, which incredibly enough, they're like $30, $40, some of these things. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I love the old stuff. But man, for those who get involved in the Black Series and all that stuff, God bless you, because I know it can get pretty pricey. Not to mention, I mean, in Los Angeles and New York City, we don't have the space, you can maybe have in the Midwest. So it's like, where do you put everything as well,
Well, we the three of us, Alfie, Ryan, and myself, went to the Great Ohio Toy Show a few weeks back, and this instigator here, Ryan, every time he would see something that he knew Alfie and I would like, he'd just pick it up. Hey, you got to get this. Hey, you got to get this. And I kept just turning him down. Ryan, put it away. Put it away. Because you're right. I mean, you could flip a switch and there could be hundreds gone in moments. And so yeah, it's very tough. And the reason I was telling Alfie to turn away on your Gekko Funko Pop, how many tubs in your attic do you think you have of Funko Pops?
I know there's at least 3 50-gallon tubs of Funko Pops.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had to go cold turkey.
We have problems.
And they're almost all, I would say 90% of them are Star Wars.
Wow. They were really on board. The only issue was they wanted me to commit to a minimum of 30,000 units. So to have a Gekko Mack truck of Funko Pops, it would be like Brewster's Millions trying to sell off each one. I don't know, but Geeky Tiki's has a much smaller number, which is 1,300. That would be the first officially licensed piece of Gekko. And I think I would just fly through them hopefully within a month. Coincidentally enough, I probably want to campaign that in the Midwest just due to storage space. So look out for that in the fall. That's a serious potential there.
We will definitely do that. So we'll ask a few other Star Wars things, just topics I pulled up from this week. There's more news of new High Republic stuff coming out. I've read some of the books. It hasn't ensnared me into the story yet. I've enjoyed them, but it's not like, man, I have to get that next High Republic book. I think Alfie's tried some of them out.
I've read 3.
You've read 3? Okay, so we both read 3. Mass, have you tried out any of the High Republic yet?
Not yet, no.
It's a lot to take in. Dominic, with you being around Star Wars and being connected to Star Wars, have you checked any of that out, or does it something that's calling your name to look into at all?
I support them 110%, especially Ethan Sachs over there. I can't tell you how much he did for Gekko with Star Wars Bounty Hunters. But right now, I'm like you guys there, where I'm on season 2 of Rebels. So I'm really excited to finish that up and hopefully get into some of the Timothy Zahn books with Thrawn there. I'm looking forward to that.
Good. Yeah. Hey, I like diversity. Like I just read Darth Plagueis for the first time, and I'm I've been a Star Wars fan my whole life, and to go back and read Plagueis now, I was like, man, that was pretty good. How did I miss that?
They just had a Vader series as well too, which I picked up, a comic book series. It must have been created maybe a year or two ago, but I really enjoyed that. People were recommending that left and right, so I picked that up on the tour, and I enjoyed it there, and some of his internal thoughts there and regret. Again, so many great parallels, which is why I think Star Wars is so powerful there.
Nope. Agreed. I tell myself all the time, it's like one of those things where I have to pace myself. The comics, I'll dabble with them, but I can't jump all the way in, or I'd never stop on it. So we talked about it, I think, a little bit. Did you, Dominic, did you see the preview of The Bad Batch? What are your thoughts on The Bad Batch with the clone troopers and this new character and Order 66 and all that? Did you check out the preview, or have you seen anything on that?
I saw the preview again. I think it's just a compliment to Dave. The one great thing with Dave and John is I feel like they're one of us, to where, like, if we can go back to the early 80s, you can totally hang out with them because of the passion, the level of enthusiasm. That's what Star Wars, I think, needed for quite some time, in my opinion, respectfully. And it's just so great to see it in amazing hands, to where he's worried about the lineage, and sort of the canon, et cetera, and to give so much depth to these characters as opposed to just throw them on screen. To me, it's never about the pew, pew, pew and all the little ships and everything else. It's about the inner workings of the character. I think that's why Rogue One became so brilliant. So I'm excited to see it. Anything in Dave's hands, I think, is pretty amazing.
Well, and now that you've been involved with the Disney Plus series, and since your character is, you could really right now, with not having a full fleshed out backstory, who's to say that Gekko the Bounty Hunter couldn't bounce around in any of the upcoming, whether they're Andor or whether they're Kenobi previous, or whether it's Ahsoka and Rangers of the New Republic. There's openings where, even if it's just in and out for a few scenes, or whether there's a storyline to follow, I'm excited about all the Disney Plus stuff. I think that's really exciting to me, that I loved the Star Wars movies, obviously, and let's face it, there's nothing like getting a group of friends and piling in on a Friday night or something and waiting for that movie to come up with the screen, the big screen. But there's something about the Disney Plus shows that once a week thing that keeps you in the loop, that makes you want more. I'm excited about all those. Are there any of the Disney Plus shows, Mass, Alfie, which one are you most excited for? And then we'll go to Dominic. Which one are you excited for the most?
Are you asking me
Is it
seriously?
Book of Boba Fett?
Heck yeah, that's the one I'm most excited for. And why wouldn't Gekko be a perfect fit in that show?
See, I agree.
Yep.
I agree. Mass, how about you?
I actually want to see Cassian Andor. And I surprised me because they're all dead, so I didn't think I'd be all that interested, but I actually do want. I really like the actor that plays him. He's been in several things that I've liked, and
Diego Luna.
Yeah, Diego Luna. There we go. I was just mental freeze there real quick. Speaking of Andor, and not to keep you, Dominic, but I did see something this week where someone posted online. Someone dressed in the similar outfit as director Krennic was being shot at the Andor series. I thought that was pretty cool because I thought about, let's see, in Andor's background, but I thought director Krennic was a great character in Rogue One. So why not get his backstory in the Andor series as well? So I don't know. But Dominic, did you see anything on that? What are your thoughts? Obviously, you mentioned Rogue One earlier. I think that ranks up there as possibly Disney's best movie that they've done since they've taken it over. And I like lots of movies, but Rogue One really stands out to me.
Oh, without question. I know the actor himself has been sort of outspoken in terms of wanting to return to the series to build on that character. He did such a brilliant job. I thought Rogue One was executed so well, without question there. So hopefully we get to see that. But for me, I mean, I can't say enough. I hope they do it justice with Kenobi. I mean, to see, obviously Hayden back with Ewan, I think it's going to be absolute magic. Not to mention Deborah Chow, who I owe so much to, heading up that series there. So that's going to be really exciting. I'm mostly looking forward to that one.
And if I'm not mistaken, like you mentioned, Deborah directed the episode 3 of the first season of Mandalorian, right? And she's running the whole gamut with Kenobi, right, guys? Is that right? And everything that she's touched, everybody that I talk to is like, she does it the right way. She brings the best story out of things. So I'm really excited. Kenobi's one of my guys. Like I love everything Kenobi. So that's the one that's really got me in, but all of them are flipping my switch here. Did you guys see this week? And I thought it was a joke. We're near, we were near April 1st, April Fool's Day, but I think last week Disney started putting out that they're going to have at the Galaxy's Edge places working lightsabers, to where like I've got the Kenobi lightsaber right here behind me, and yes, does it look fabulous? It sure does. Is it difficult to take in and out of places? It sure is, because it's got the whole blade already on there. But from what they've shown, these new lightsabers are going to be the hilt like this, and they're creating something like I think it was Jimmy and Jason on Rebel Force Radio talking about it, kind of like how a tape measure can come out and come back in. They're creating something like this that lights up, that's like the tape measure, that you'll be able to do that. It'll shoot out, and then it'll come back into it like that. What you guys think they're pulling our legs, or can they really pull that off?
Well, you guys better hope that they can't, or you two guys are going to be divorced. Because I can see the credit card bill coming back on that one.
I'm going to need one of those.
Yeah.
I mean, lightsabers have always been the coolest, right? But having one that goes down into the hilt, comes all the way back up. I mean, come on. You got to wonder if these are going for 200, 250. You got to wonder what the one that retracts is going to do as well. So,
yeah, going to do damage is what it's going to do.
Dominic, that's going to be one of those things that I'm going to have to pull back on the reins on, because my wife is an angel and she's a saint to let me have this entire room filled with Star Wars stuff. But if I start showing up with retractable lightsabers.
Hey, but that 500 will actually show the value versus I got EV99. It's gonna be hard to explain. It's gonna be hard to explain. Right? Hey, no, $600 for this one. Are you crazy? Are you crazy?
It's not like you're going to be able to hide it either, because you're going to take it everywhere with you.
Oh man. Oh, with the saber. Yeah, absolutely.
So, Dominic, like, I know my son's 27, so I've gone through the gamut that you're doing there with your boys right now, and he is still a Star Wars fanatic. Matter of fact, he's going to a toy store in Lafayette, Indiana tomorrow that is supposed to have a lot of Star Wars stuff. So I imagine my phone will be blowing up tomorrow with pictures he's sending me. But are your boys at 15 and 12, are they big Star Wars fans? Are they just Gekko fans? Because, hey, that's my dad and that's pretty cool. Or do they like the movies, like the comics, like, the animated series, all that kind of stuff? What's maybe some of their fun things with Star Wars?
I can't speak for their whole generation, but I think they're at a disadvantage to where there's so much content for them. See, when we were kids, Lucas was so ahead of his time, there was nothing comparable. Everything else, sci-fi, was cheesy and corny. So unfortunately, my youngest is into Fortnite. The oldest is going ahead and he's into anime. But I will tell you, we had the greatest time at Galaxy's Edge. They both took the helm at Smuggler's Run, and I cannot tell you how amazing it was to just do that. The four of us, my wife and I in the back, pressing the buttons, everything else, and my son punching it to light speed. They love it. They're just not complete, like completion collectors or anything like that. They just sort of go along for the ride. They're with the first night of the movies, we're certainly over there. But I think it's attributed to a lot of the content they have now, even with video games. We've done a lot of story mode games together, to where I just think it sort of dilutes Star Wars for the newer generations, in my opinion, just due to all the other stuff, distractions and such.
I think you might have hit on something there, because we always talk about on our show that there's entry points for Star Wars fans. What draws you in, like Nick and Shesky, one of our co-hosts, and my son Joey. They were born at the time to where they were 6-7 years old when the prequels were coming out. So for that was their entry point. But you're right. Still at that time, we weren't overly saturated with Star Wars material. If you look at it, we talked about it a few weeks back, that this is almost like a second golden age of Star Wars, but we're just getting it in a hyperdrive kind of way, because we're getting everything thrown our way. I mean, movies in the future, 10 Disney series, comics galore. I mean, there's just a never-ending point of this now that Disney has it. So you're right. It might be difficult. Then you add in the fact that there's things like this going on, to where half the kids go, well, I like Star Wars, but how do you pass up watching all the MCU, right? I mean, so it's really hard to probably draw them in and be as big a Star Wars fanatics as guys our age who grew up with it the first time around. But you're right. I like that. That's a pretty good idea. And Mass, your son, are you still roping him in? Is it still difficult pulling, like, to get him into the Star Wars?
Yeah, he's a lost Star Wars cause. He's he does like, he's a Marvel guy. Yeah, he loves those, but no, there's no Star Wars.
Gotcha.
I think I made him watch them too early when he was a kid, and he just kind of got burnt out.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how certain things, I mean, not Star Wars. I think Star Wars is still magical, even if you're 5. But, when you go back and you show the kids Peanuts, and they're just like, what the heck is this? I mean, it's just so slow. Well, how did you even watch this? And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's Peanuts. Are you kidding me? But, right. I mean, it's just unfortunate. Certain things, they don't, they'll notice sort of the movement, the special effects back then compared to the CGI now. And sometimes it'll actually turn them off. But again, it's frustrating, because obviously some of the stuff is so classic,
Exactly. Go ahead, Alfie.
Yeah. I was thinking about this very thing last week when they released the Ewok movies on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
I watched them with my daughter, and sitting there watching that and then thinking, when you and I were kids, how excited we were to watch, the Battle of Endor. And, you're right. There's just so much content right now, and it's really good content.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's great content. I mean, to think that we're getting the Bad Batch, which is in all essence season, whatever, 8, 9 of the Clone Wars, just extended out, right? I mean, Filoni and his group have said, well, we can keep, because it's so popular, we can just throw this at you. And I mean, we weren't expecting that. We were expecting the Ahsoka and the Kenobi and the Fett and all that, but here we are with this. So you're right. The content that's coming out, and you're right, it doesn't go down in quality. So yeah, no, I agree that there is probably too much content for people to be taking in sometimes, unless you're like us and we're fanatics and we can take it all in. So Dominic, looking at the big picture with everything, again, GekkoTheBountyHunter.com. We'll post the other things that you said there on Twitter, on Instagram, everything like that. The tour is going to, you were just back from Hawaii. When does it kick off again? It kicks off in May. Is that right?
Actually, yeah, April 30th. And then we're going to be running straight through on the West Coast, all the way through Revenge of the Sith in 5th in Vegas. So we've got Northern California, April 30th, May 1st. Santa Clarita will be my only Southern California appearance on May 2nd. Bouncing up to Reno on May the 4th. And then Revenge of the 5th in Vegas, Sin City. So that should be a lot of fun. Great people out there. Rogue Toys. I highly recommend following them. They've got some great stuff out there. And then it's going to pick back up in Alaska, Anchorage, Alaska. Actually, I'll be taking a visit to a military site as well. Pay my respect to the troops. My grandfather was 4th Infantry. We're going to be signing some free autographs for them. But yeah, June 5th and 6th will be Arizona and New Mexico. And then June 19th, we're all the way out in San Antonio. And that's where it kicks off nonstop until September 1st.
Well, and I don't mean to take us down another tangent related to it, but I did love in your bio and some of the things you were talking about, that some things that stuck out to me. One, you were wanting to go see some of the Lewis and Clark sites while you were on your trip. I was fortunate enough a few years ago, I had to go to Sioux City, Iowa. Not that that's lucky, but it was a fun trip. Sioux City, which, by the way, their airport is SUX. What a bad terminology for anyway. But it was one of the first places where Lewis and Clark were, and there were actually memorials there for members of their group that passed away in Sioux City, and in campground areas where they stayed in there and on the river and everything. I thought that was just very cool to think about that. They were just going through that area. So I'm looking forward to hearing how that goes. You mentioned that there were a few more baseball stadiums you still need to visit in the MLB. One of them was in Miami. Where were some of the other ones?
So we're going to knock off Detroit. We're going to knock off Miami. What are you talking about there in Sioux City? There's only one guy who passed away, amazingly enough, from appendicitis.
Yes.
It wasn't even from from any of the Native Americans, even though they got into it a little bit up there in Iowa. But yeah, St. Charles, Missouri has a great museum. Also Fort Clatsop out there in Oregon, which is where they spent the second winter. And then the first winter up in Bismarck, North Dakota with the Mandan Village. So yeah, really excited. Awesome. And then also a little bit of music there as well. I love to listen now. As I get older, I think we can relate to country a little more. So Waylon Jennings, he's buried over in Mesa. And then Johnny Cash and June Carter over in Nashville. So going to go pay my respects to them, as well as the Cherokee in Western Georgia. So we've got a lot of fun things, and not to mention all the great food in the Midwest too. I always really enjoy that.
Well, I look, I mean, that's a great trip. Now, one thing I didn't ask was, this is all in car? This is all driving, or is there a lot of flights as well?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Oh my God. So, living in New York and LA is so funny because my son, any 12-year-old or 10-year-old, if you're going through cornfields, you're like, all right, when the heck are we going to get there? But I'll tell you, we hit a certain age, right? 45 to 50. You go through those cornfields, you got, life, you got stress. LA, it's just a concrete jungle. I was going 55 miles an hour. We had a nice A&W stop, got a root beer float. I just love driving. I love being on the road. It's everybody's like, my God, you're going nonstop. It is heaven out there for me. Just some good music and again, some quality time with my sons, and also so many friends along the way as well.
Good. Alfie and Mass, any more? I mean, this is a guy who's hung out and been on a Star Wars stage and has lived the kind of the dream that we all want to do someday, is say, hey, I put on this, or I was in that scene or whatever. Any more questions for Dominic? Because he's been great, and I don't want to keep him too long. Go ahead, Alfie.
Okay, in all these comic book stops, you seem like you really fit in here with us, our kind of mentality. Is there one thing when you get out of the car that you're hoping, but knowing they won't have? Like, what's the one thing you're looking for as a fan?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I honestly feel like it is a great value right now with the Boba Fett book. I think you know, if we look at some of the introduction to other iconic characters in the comic book world and the price that those comics are at now, I want to still keep harping on that issue number 42 in 1980 of introducing the bounty hunters. So that would be it. And then also those 2 loose figures. I know I'm going to have to spring for the $500 to $600 of loose Luke Stormtrooper and also EV-99. So those are the 2 there. But as far as the most unique, I thought that's what you were going to ask. There was one company called Green Machine Comics, and they have a company, it's over on Instagram, called Six Soaps. And they have the most unique pop culture soaps. I know it sounds really odd, but if you go to this page, it is just absolutely mind-blowing. And the coolest design was down in Dallas, called Dallas Vintage Toys. Literally like a kid in a candy store. They've got the Castle Grayskull going into one of the rooms, and they've got all the high-end graded figures, even including droids, G.I. Joe stuff, everything from our childhood, like, you know, the high graded stuff. Dallas Vintage Toys, that was the one I was most blown away with there.
There are some definite ones like this. I will say this. I know it's not on your tour for this year, but Kokomo Toy Store is one of the largest toy stores in the Midwest. And it's just due south of South Bend and Mishawaka where you're going to be. So if you do get a few minutes to break away when you're up in the South Bend, Mishawaka area on July 11th, probably half an hour down the road, maybe right around there. Kokomo, Indiana, Kokomo Toys. We've actually talked to them. We might do a live show there one time where we just do the podcast, promote it out and everything like that. But they are huge. Yeah, just, you know, I know you're driving a lot, but I don't know where your next stop is after South Bend, Mishawaka, but it wouldn't hurt you to go check out that place because they might have some of those things you're looking for anyway, but I'm sure they'd love to see you. So
thank you.
Yeah. So just to maybe add it in 2022 when you when you get going on there. So Dominic, I again, thank you for the time. Thank you for being a guest. I don't want to keep you. I mean, you just got back from Hawaii and you were kind enough to still hop on with us. Any parting things that you want to hit us with or anything like that at all before you go? Because again, we'll promote anything you want because we just think you're a great ambassador for Star Wars and the fandom and the community and everything like that.
Oh, thank you so much. No, I just appreciate people taking a look at that schedule. And if it works in your schedule, we've been adding positivity all throughout the country. I can't tell you just how appreciative not only I am, but also the comic book stores, you know, even out in Hawaii, they're just human beings trying to get by day to day. And when everything shut down, it really hit them hard. Again, women and children are involved. So just any support you can give to your local comic book stores. And thank you for supporting my tour there as well if you're in the area. No worries. Well, we'll get all that. And you know, every link you've got, send it to me in a DM. I'll make sure every one of those links is on our Twitter, our Facebook, our Instagram, everything like that. And it'll be in the show notes as well for this. And man, it's an honor. I mean, like I said, to see the goodwill that you've done over the past year and a half, and to know that we're talking to somebody who had communications with guys and ladies in the Mandalorian is just, it's blowing us away to be able to think that we're this lucky to do this. So thank you. You brought a ton of energy and excitement and can't thank you enough and appreciate it. And we'll I know our group we'll try to be up in Mishawaka on July 11th and see if we can't meet up with you face to face and shake hands and maybe take you and go get some good food here in the Midwest. That would be great. Thank you, gentlemen, so much. All my best to all your listeners, and can't wait to see you guys soon there. You got it. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. That's amazing.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Talk to you.
Good luck to tour.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Guys, I would have kept him on because he brings a ton of energy. I would have kept him on all night, but the dude was just flying back and forth from Hawaii, and he's got a long road ahead of him with him and his sons. I just wanted to take a few minutes with you guys and tell you thanks, because I know usually we have a show where we're bouncing around and talking about all kinds of goofy things, but I thought it was very important to take somebody like that who, again, positivity galore, and the way he's talking about raising his sons and the way he's talking about, being out there in the community and doing positive things for the stores and the men and women who are affected by a lot of the shutdowns. I'm still kind of like in awe, like, were we just talking to that guy? That was pretty daggone cool. I mean, we're just three goofballs from the Midwest. So, how's everything else going with you guys? We were buzzing right there. Any other Star Wars topics you guys want to hit that we didn't get and we didn't hit on there with Dominic? anything in the forefront of the shows we were talking about? Did you guys see Star Wars Detours, the stuff that Seth Green and those guys were involved with?
Yeah, I saw that.
I think they've got like so many seasons already recorded from back in the day. The rumor mill that I've seen, I saw it on 4 or 5 different accounts, is May the 4th, they might be releasing Star Wars Detours on Disney Plus. Look, I mean, just another thing. We all know what's canon, what's not canon. Who cares? I'm not really worried about it. If it's fun, if it's in the Star Wars community, Mass, I think you would really like us. I know you like Seth Green, and I know you're into comedy. These are kind of like comedy, animated sitcoms, kind of like Family Guy and all that stuff, but related to Star Wars. So I'm if that happens, I think that'd be a great May the 4th gift to all of us. I don't know. So Mass, go look up Star Wars Detours. I think you'll like it. So
I will.
I think it'll be right up your alley. And I actually think Elliot might say, you know what, this I can get into because it's sitcom comedy in the Star Wars universe. Like the script, you guys remember recently the Weird Al Yankovic released scene where Dexter Jetster had a problem going on with some bounty hunters in his cafe or in his diner. I mean, there's stuff like that going on throughout this series. So I don't know. That was just one thing that I noticed that we didn't talk about real quick. I'm trying to think of other things we didn't hit. We talked about the working lightsabers. There wasn't a ton of news this week in Star Wars, so I was just happy with all the purchases I got. So, and Lori hasn't divorced me with all the purchases. So, anything else, Alfie, that you can think of you want to hit on? Anything like that?
Man, my mind's still whirling after all that. Yeah, no, I'm not revealing yet.
No reveal. We're not getting a live reveal here on the show, so that's okay. Mass, you've seen, right? He's been talking about this.
What?
He got some special stuff through like some Target red card only, blah blah blah. He sent it to my wife. He sent the link to her, and she was like, okay, I don't know, I didn't get this email, and I was like, well, you need to start watching and making sure you get this email. So he's got some special purchases that Robin, his wife, made for him on this. So everybody, even Tom Line on Twitter, he's sitting and twiddling his thumbs waiting for this to be released. So
yeah, it was some red card deal over the weekend, and we saw one thing and it led to a second thing, and then that led to a third thing that
is
really
kind of how
expensive.
it goes. Mass, I would turn my screen here and show you how many Captain Americas I have now since the last time we spoke, but I don't know if I can turn my screen and not knock stuff down. I know we're supposed to be a Star Wars show, but slowly but surely, Captain America is filling up a shelf here for me.
Give me a number.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Wow.
9 Captain Americas, 1 Iron Man. I've got another Captain America on the way. They're cool, man. And I found a Mercari. Like, you can buy them pretty cheap. So I'm just picking them up.
Yeah, I had to delete that app.
Mass. Okay. Besides the Millennium Falcon, because we're talking about this real quick. Besides the Millennium Falcon, which we will make you buy at some point in time when you're on this show. I'd really like to do it live with you, like taking your iPad and ordering it live while we're doing this. But what is something else you would say you need or want to have to go up on the shelf to go along with those Han Solo books and things like that you're doing right now?
There really isn't much. I mean, I sold a lot of my extended universe books when I got married, and just for the space. And I really wish I had those back now, like because they were all like first editions of like Thrawn trilogy and all that. Yeah, if I could get some more space in the house, I'd probably try and get those back. But
all right, that's going to be one of our missions, is to help you recover the ones you're missing. We'll put together a list and help you do that. Alfie, you're not revealing anything. Is there anything else new or different that you've gotten that I haven't seen? I know you went crazy with your daughter for a couple days at Target in Florida.
That was just one day. We went twice in one day.
2 visits in Florida. Okay. And she liked the Chewbacca book that we got, right?
Oh yeah. She's in this stage right now where she knows if she's getting her picture taken or if you're recording her. So I haven't been able to yet, but she goes through that thing and names every character, who they are. You know, they're all best friends. They all love each other every day, on and
Yes.
on.
There needs to be more kids like her.
Yeah.
Azalea would be, yes, we just need more kids like a 2-year-old who loves Star Wars that much.
Well, I'm sure you saw the pictures on Twitter that she found my stash of Black Series figures.
I did see that, and
they
they're
are
into them.
all opened.
Oh,
That's rough. That was
Yeah.
rough. Yeah, I don't have grandkids yet, and it's weird to say I'm going to be 50 and I'm thinking about grandkids, but I Steve Dawson said it. If I'm buying these things to make money off of them, I'm doing it the wrong way. So I'm kind of looking forward to taking the tubs of figures I've got and then taking all these Black Series characters I got behind me here and just getting that 2 or 3-year-old of Joey's or Maddie's and saying, let's go. Let's just dig into these and start playing with them. I mean, what? I can't take them with me when I'm gone, right?
No.
So,
no, you could.
Be a sad thing.
Fill
She
that
plays
coffin.
with the stuff, so
Yeah.
that makes it better.
You know what?
Makes it easier.
I think the only thing I might take when I'm gone is I might see if they mummify my dog Mario, and if they get like the Egyptians, I'll take him with me. They put me in, they could take Mario with me.
I'm gonna take Gekko's gun out of that case. That was cool as hell.
That gun was BA, but for me, the thing that I was having a hard time thinking about was Carl Weathers knows the guy we were just talking to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
follow Creed, baby.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm just
Master
sitting there,
Disaster.
I'm just sitting there going, I don't know if it's. I didn't want to be too nerdy and geeky with him because I just want to be like, what's he like? What does he do? You know. But I was like, no, I'm just gonna try to be as cool as possible. But I'm just geeking out, thinking that's so freaking cool. So I don't know, but hey, you don't have any other topics. That's okay. We can keep this light and short tonight. I'm just glad Dominic had the time for us, and he was a great guy. And again, Gekko the Bounty Hunter.com. On there, he's got stuff, and then we'll post the links to. He's going to be hitting like 60 places over the summer, and let's try it. Let's try to make it a pact to where even if we don't go to Kokomo Toy Store till then, let's go hit that and then head up to Mishawaka and see him on July 11th up there and meet him, because the guy was a cool dude. And
he was
really cool.
6'4", 270 pounds. I want to stay on his good side. So that's a big man. I'm a rather petite gentleman. So you guys, thanks again for always. Just stop. I'm not a vegan.
Oh my goodness. Before we go, let me talking about Black Series. I don't know if you can see that or not because from the glare.
I can. Is that the 3D printed?
Yes.
So for those
Mandalorian,
of you on YouTube, these are the 3D printed stands for 6-inch figures, right?
Yeah.
How much do they set you back per each one?
We're coming up with costs now.
Okay. Because honestly, I can't find good things for the 6-inch figures.
This is the second attempt.
Okay.
So I had to thin the pegs a little bit. The first one we made, the pegs were too large.
Well, and
so you're actually making them, Alfie?
What's that?
You're actually making them?
The guy that I work with is making them on a 3D printer.
Nice.
Yeah.
I need one of those 3D printers. Seems like you can do everything on them. I will tell you, that's a good thing that you're doing that because, looking at some here like Han and Lando and Poe, the peg holes for them are larger, but Zori Bliss, Padme, Leia, in the female characters, the peg holes are smaller, so they're very difficult to fit those in. So it might be something we have to look at and see if we're doing them for the different figures there. So
somebody's got to have figured it out. I thought it would have been a lot easier to find than it has been.
The ones I bought, and I bought a bunch of them because I was going to take all these out. The ones I bought, they don't work very well. I'm kind of bummed on them, and I spent a couple bucks for each
Yeah.
stand, and I'm like, it's not
I
doing it
looked
for
at
me.
a bunch of different ones on Amazon, and if you read down in the comments, that's what everyone says. No, these don't work. These don't work.
Such is the life of a Star Wars fan. Okay, hey, let's regroup. Let's before next week, maybe let's watch some either Ewok Adventures or Ewok cartoons or Clone Wars, Tartakovsky, things like that. Let's regroup and talk about those. Mass, you do have Disney Plus, right?
I do.
Okay, watch some of that stuff. Alfie, you watch some of that stuff again with your daughter.
Do you have any idea how many times I've seen the Ewok Adventures in the past 2 weeks?
No,
It's a lot.
well, let's do that, and we'll come back with some other stories and news and things like that. Thank you two, for hopping on here on a busy Wednesday night. We're all swamped. I'm still going to go do some work now because I didn't finish it all before the softball game today. So thank you thank you for the listeners. Thank you for checking us out again at Rule the Galaxy. It's always so much fun, and we're probably hopping back to doing more once a week show just because our lives are busy, and Nick will do a Clone Wars one here every now and then. If anybody else steps up and says, "Hey, Joe, I want to do a show on my own," I'll say, "Yes, go do that," and we'll add it to the Rule the Galaxy empire. But 1 week, one show a week really makes it just where we can do this and plan. Because it's hard to plan this, and I can't imagine with us doing one show a week what it's like for Dominic to do 60 visits over the summer. That schedule's got to be hectic and crazy. So, but thank you again. Thanks for listening to us. Follow us and on Twitter, Rule the Galaxy SW. Email us, ruletheGalaxySW@gmail.com. And check us out here on YouTube and let us know what you think and at Rule the Galaxy. So for Mass, for Alfie, for Joe, for our special guest, Dominic Pace, who we wanted to let him get back to some normal time at his house before this trip starts. Thank you. And until next week, may the Force be with you.